Now, to create a rectangle object in our main function, in this file, first on the top, we have to include the header or the interface file of the rectangle class. So rectangle.h. We are not going to include the CPP or the implementation file, only the header file. Now, the reason we have this separation, the reason we have two files per class is to reduce the compilation times. So currently our main file is dependent on rectangle.h, and that means if you go to this file and make any changes here, this file, as well as every file that is dependent on this file, has to be recompiled. However, if we go to our implementation file and make any changes here, let's say if we add an exclamation mark here, only this file has to be recompiled, and then it will be linked with other compiled files. So the other files are not going to be recompiled. This is the reason we need to separate the implementation of a class from its interface, because most of the time the changes are in the implementation or in algorithms. But sometimes, as part of building a new feature or changing an existing one, we also have to change the interface of a class. In that case, this file and every file that is dependent on this file has to be recompiled. So back to our main file, we have included the header file of the rectangle class. So now we can create a rectangle object just like how we declare an integer. So rectangle. So this rectangle is an object or an instance of the rectangle class. Now we can access the members of this object using the dot operator, the same way we use structures. However, if we set width to, let's say 10 here, we get a compilation error saying width is a private member of rectangle. That means we cannot access it outside of this class. This is the main difference between classes and structures. In structures, when we declare members, those members are always public or accessible by default. But in classes, all these members are private or inaccessible by default. So to make them public, in the class declaration, here we type public followed by a colon. Now all these members are public or exposed outside of this class. So back to our main file, we can set the width to 10, then we can set the height to 20, and finally we can print rectangle.getArea. Now because we have used cout, we have to include iostream and use the std namespace. Okay, so let's run the program. The area of our rectangle is 200. Beautiful. Now, if we create a second rectangle object here, that object is going to be an independent instance in memory. So let's do a fun experiment here. I'm going to delete these lines and change the name of this object to first. Then I'm going to create a second rectangle. Now let's print the address of the first rectangle in memory. So we use the address of operator followed by first, and then we add endo. Now let's duplicate this and print the address of the second rectangle. Take a look. So as you can see, we have two different addresses. The first one ends with C0, the second ends with B8. Of course, on your machine, we're going to see different addresses.